the world seems doomed to be destroyed. In the clash between the fortress and the mana beast, Porky, our noble hero, backed by his good friend Hirork, Porky, his last resort is to attempt to power his mana sword with the mana tree itself. The party heads to the Pure Land at the edge of the world. So we're going to the Pure Land, and then I think we have like 2 more things to do maybe. We'll see. I don't know how many hours this game is, but I'm currently sitting at like about 12, 11 hours. It's gotta be more than that.
One night is...
Let me see.
One night is 200.
No, I don't need to stay here. Okay, yeah, 12 hours. Okay, so we probably get like 8 hours to 10 hours maybe to go. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't played this in a long ass time. So, yeah, so we've basically got all the like do the eight temples, do the temple that's all the 8 temples. Like do all the bullshit early on, and now we're either coming into end game or like mid-late. I don't fully know kind of how much there is left, but we'll see. But I do know I gotta go find the Pure Land, and I gotta go to there, which is, hey, what's this? There it is. This is the pure. Oh, it's not very pure. It's just a watery volcano. All right, whatever. Here we go, watery volcano land. I understand. I've heard.
Come to me, quickly now.
Yo, girl. I've heard that this is kind of a bullshit section of the game, so we'll see. Oh, good. I can't see anything, and the monsters hit like a fucking truck. Also, what is that? Oh, I need to reset my healing magic because I took it away last time. There we go. What's up, Jax? Jesus. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty serious. That is a pretty serious hit.
Our illustrious champion returns.
What's up, Brajesh? Welcome back. Oh my god. And we already have like basically the best armor in the game, so I'm just gonna need to try to handle my shit here and not get massacred. Griffin hand. Okay. What is
the end.
Wow. I don't okay. All right. So the Pure Land hits real hard. Okay. Good. Great. Fantastic. I'm not really sure what the game's trying to tell me here. Like, each of my characters gets one shot, so that indicates to me either I need not to fight, which I don't think is what this game usually is about, but like, oh god, if this is just like the grinding gate, like I'm level 40 something. If this is just the like, oh, too bad the game's really, really hard here for no narrative reason except that like we want you to go back and like grind a bunch. Oh god, that hurts. That is hurtful design.
I'm finished. The end.
What a weird choice. Wow. Ah, okay. Magic seems helpful. So, physical stuff, not so much. But yeah, 2 hits from the spell seems to handle them. Okay. All right.
Let's do this. Dark Force.
Yeah, I'm like fundamentally opposed, like period, end of statement, to games in which arbitrary grinding periods are required. I feel like it's really sloppy design not to pace your game properly, in the sense that by the time you reach, say, a boss or a new area, you should at least be like semi-adequately capable of surviving and making your way through that area. Oh, there's no inn here. That's right. I did this last time too. The game can do that by moving you through encounters and by giving you experience points sufficient to mechanically prepare you for that section of the game. Now, player skill is another complicated thing that gets attached to that, right? So, like, ideally, if you're a really good game designer, if your game design is like A+ on point, the players are being trained to be good at the game at the same pace as the characters improve, right? Like, by the time you reach a certain point, you should be prepared
spores clog the air and make it hard to breathe.
both mechanically and player skill-wise to handle that area. But that's much, much harder because player skill varies and is much less in control for the designer.
I wonder why the Matango branch of the family smells so sweet.
They're still talking about shit that we left behind a long time ago. Stop. Just I don't care. Those conversations are boring. Boring conversation anyway. Yeah. So like grinding isn't so much about, like, I suppose as a designer you might include repetitive, like what we mean when we talk about grinding is repetitive action for the purposes of mechanical advancement so as to put oneself in a place where one is prepared with enough hit points, damage, whatever the game uses, prepared to engage the challenges in that section of the game, right? That's what grinding is. To be able to defeat boss X, you need to have grinded up to level Y in area Z prior to your advancement. But a lot of the time the game doesn't, it's lazy, right? Or the game is technically limited in some way so as not to be able to properly prepare you for that. Again, easier to do with games where you have more control, right? A Nintendo game, like a base Nintendo game, has much less in terms of options for handling that stuff. Than, say, a Super Nintendo game or a modern PC game. Wow. Fucking wow. So it's interesting looking at it as a fundamental of design. I think that you can look at a lot of games that have any sort of advancement, because some don't, right? Like a game like Doom 2. I guess, that's not true. Doom has advancement in the sense of as you gain momentum through the game, you also get new weapons. So more powerful weapons represent kind of leveling in a game like Doom. But I think you end up in this position with design where you have to be very mindful of that art. And if you're going to put your players in a position where their characters need to be at a certain level, and you are not able or not willing, as part of your design praxis, to guide them to that place on your own, using the tools you have for them, you have to instruct them in some other fashion, which I think is challenging. Think about the way that like Dungeons and Dragons does something like this, right? In D&D, this is what challenge rating is. Challenge rating exists in Dungeons and Dragons to make sure that the GM is essentially game designing in a way that advancement works alongside player skill and level base and all of that stuff. This game does not seem to give 1/10 of a flying fuck about that kind of thing. There's no conveyance of difficulty. There's no, like, when I got here, it was just like, yo, you're fucked. Here's some bad guys. Get dead. Which is a choice. I'm just looking for spells that'll, like, buff me, potentially, so I get defense. Defender. Here we go. Let's try this one.
Defender.
See if that does anything. We're gonna lean into trying to use magic and just avoiding hits, I guess, which is in this game near impossible, given that some stuff will hit you whether you're standing in its path or not.
No, stop this. Let's do this. Come stop me. Dark force.
Takes more than that.
Yeah, there are a lot of very dated design choices in Secret of Mana. Dated and strange, which I think is exacerbated to some degree by the fact that it's a remake. The idea of adherence to a design standard or design decision simply for the sake of maintaining verisimilitude with a previous design feels, I don't know, it just feels like a poor choice. But again, like, that's not what they're doing. They're not trying to modernize Secret of Mana. They're trying to replicate it, which is a whole other goal, right? Oh shit, get out of the fucking way. God damn it. Yeah, this is rough. Again, what seems like an insurmountable difficulty, but isn't, obviously, in fact. It's fascinating to experience. Like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, you can play a game and ultimately not, I guess this is the thing, right, is what is your goal going into playing a game, right? Like, I think that we have a lot of assumptions around why one might play a video game. And I don't know, maybe this seems like, I don't know, a foregone conclusion, but like, we have ideas about why we play games, right? Like, why am I playing Secret of Mana? Why would you choose to play PUBG? Why do we do these things? And I think, for me, the reason that I play games is very, very rarely simply because I want to have fun. Fun is a byproduct of doing other stuff, right? This is something that I've kind of talked about a little bit in terms of, like, design. You don't really design a game for fun. So, like, the reason that I play a game is so that I can talk about it, right? So that I can share insights, I can share thoughts about the game. We can discuss it, right, as a group. I can create commentary. It isn't just to, like, have a good time, though. Creating commentary on a video game and playing games to do that is in and of itself fun for me. Sandgnome, Cup, and Avi and Desora, all of you, welcome back. Special welcome back to Avi and Desora. Happy anniversary. So, like, yeah, that's why I think it's interesting playing. Like, I think people play games that are super challenging. Like watch Zeke play Bashi, right? It's not in and of itself what one might imagine to be a fun experience so much as it is a frustrating challenge that you can get some kind of fun out of. Jesus, I'm terrified of dying because I'll lose all the XP I'm getting from these guys. So, you know, I can play a game like this, which I said, I think in the last session, I would give this thing like a hesitant 4 out of 10. Like, maybe a 4 if I'm feeling, like, charitable. And so, you know, it's interesting because I think you can have these experiences, not negative experiences in and of themselves, but like experiences that provoke a frustrated response or experiences with poor design, and still find some sort of benefit therein. Now, it's different, obviously, when you you look at your resources, right? Like, what resources are you expending versus what are you getting out of the experience? Like, it's much easier for me to continue playing a game that I didn't have to pay for, versus if I had spent $40 on this, I probably wouldn't feel as, I don't know, willing or whatever to stick it out. We create these thresholds of play. I don't know, same goes for like role-playing games, right? Like you might play a shitty role-playing game you don't like because your friends like it and you love your friends. And you have a fun time playing games with your friends, but you do not necessarily inherently enjoy the game you are playing with them. And I think that's okay. I think you can do that. All right, so I think we've got a handle on how to kind of like get our way through here. We're gonna need to make sure we're stocked up on almonds, but they seem to be pretty susceptible to that mana shit, and I think we're okay. I do worry about the one-shot doom
Our
thing.
illustrious champion returns. Welcome home.
Hello, Dark Blagger. Welcome back. Right? I mean, everybody's got a game experience like this. Mine is Mirror Shades. Like, we made the most of Mirror Shades. But I wouldn't say Mirror Shades is like, I wouldn't say Shadowrun 1E is bad exactly. Oh god, this is gonna be fun. Okay, and then I need Dukes to, or I need oh fuck. I need to figure out what the hell this thing's weak to so that I can pummel it with that. But apparently it's squiggled off the screen, so. You just heal Dukes? Oh, that's embarrassing for us. Ugh. Okay, priorities. We'll bring Porky back to life. And then we will scan this thing, and then we'll hit its weaknesses as much as we possibly can. Alright, survey says Sylphid. Okay, so that's a shame because Sylphid sucks. No, so that's the thing, is I don't think it's about being under-leveled. I think it's just that the game decided to change up some of the rules. Again, like, under and over-leveled implies the designers have an intended level you're supposed to be at, right? So if the designers have an intended level that I'm supposed to be at in this area, they have communicated it incredibly poorly. To the point where they haven't really communicated it at all, either through design or through narrative. Nothing about the game has indicated to me what level I should be by now. The only real indication that a game can give you is how fast did it take, like how fast did it take to get there? And once you're there, if you are under-leveled for it, some degree of the blame needs to fall on the designer. Also, did I just seriously deal 91 damage based on its weakness? That seems like kind of silly. I think the thing to remember is that, Jesus, I have all the status ailments in the world. I think the thing to remember is that criticizing a thing, obviously, and I've said this 100 million times. I'd love to live in a world where we don't have to remind people of this all the time, but like criticizing something doesn't mean you don't like it. You can like something and be critical of it. In fact, you should be critical of the things that you like more so than the things you don't, right? If you don't like something, you should probably understand why. But if you think you love something and that it's perfect, that's the time to start like really looking at it and understanding your own biases around it. Because I think if you really hate something, just you can just disengage from it completely. I'm enjoying the experience of playing the game, even if I'm not really enjoying the game itself. If that makes any sense. Also, don't petrify me. Okay, yeah, no, that spell's doing okay. Okay. So we got smushed and moogled. So let's at least apply the hammer and bring Porky back. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, Kalanon. Like, if we are underleveled, it's like who is responsible for that, right? Like, I'm of the mind, you know, both as a designer and as a player of games. I'm of the mind that the designer is responsible for making sure that the player has the tools they need to understand the intended pacing of the game. Also, I need to walnut. Because Dukes ran out of magic points. And for whatever reason, this game hasn't done that. It hasn't given me, if I am underleveled, if it's intended for me to be a higher level for this area, I think the game has failed to communicate that. But I'm actually not totally sure I'm underleveled. I think the trick is just learning the tactics. Like, I'm not feeling like this is hopeless. See, Kolhur, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's a clear indication that you are underleveled. There's lots of reasons why an area might be challenging, right? Like, it could be that the monsters are weak to something and I need to discover their weakness. It could be that I am using the wrong weapon. There is no clear indication that it's about level.
Our illustrious champion returns. Welcome home.
Whoop. We're so close to just having a bad run of luck on taking hits on this thing.
Thanks.
If nothing else, it's just interesting to look at and try to think about the intention of the design, right? What was the intended purpose of changing the difficulty spike in this area, right? Giving me stop it.
Our illustrious champion returns. Welcome home.
Oh shit, I am out of... Oh, this is gonna be interesting. I've got spells though. She can still cast the wake up spell, so let's do that. There we go.
Pure water. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean it's cool. It's not a thing that I'm feeling like particularly. I don't know. It's inelegant in terms of design. Like it's awkward that you end up in this place where the game hasn't really effectively communicated some of its intentions. But I'm also like not. It's not the end of the world. It's not a experience-breaking situation. There we go. It is a little, yeah, it's just a little odd, is all. Okay, cool. I would love to, I guess I'll go back.
Here.
Because I'm going to need to go to the inn and also re-up on healing items. Okay, we're good. You know, like, I think, here's the thing, right? Like, when people suggest, these threads pop up all the time. You see them on Twitter, you see them on forums and stuff, when people are like, what games does every designer need to play? And people will suggest amazing, wonderful, fantastic games, right? People will be like, play Link to the Past, play Dark Souls, play Half-Life 2. Like, play only the best possible games you can get your hands on. But I think it's really important to play shit games too. Like, I think it's really important, not to say that this is one, but there's elements of this game that are shitty. Or poor design, let's say that. But there's elements of every game that's shitty too, right? It's really important to play all kinds of games because you learn to understand what is and isn't good about them. And in that way, you can enjoy a game whether you're having a positive Ludo narrative experience or you're like, wow, this game's really bad. You can understand why you feel the way that you feel about it. Like, what about the game is eliciting the response that you're having? Okay, so I want to go... I have a ton of money now, or a relative ton of money. I want to go back and check out...
to the math squad.
Hey, Jenny. I know you. Thanks for the sub. I want to go back and check out the temple thingy, because I've been buying all my supplies from the gold. Here, let's go buy our regular supplies from Gold Town, and then we'll go see if there's any armor from Neko, because I think I might have a couple of people who aren't maxed out on gear quite yet. Yeah, so it's a whole thing. Like, I think...
Well, no one...
I think it's important to understand people's...
I've been waiting.
Like, triumphant failures of design so that you know how design works. Whether you're a game designer or just a consumer of game objects, right, of games media. I think it's cool to have an understanding of things, whether they're good or bad, right? Because then you can make informed choices, and making informed choices is what protects us from doing things like wasting our money and... Okay, so this is just the end. Wasting our money and, like, playing games for the wrong reasons or not knowing what kinds of games we like. Something that's been a really good experience for me as a broadcaster, as a Twitch streamer and a YouTube Let's Player, is watching other people come to an understanding of my preferences for games, right? I love when people recommend games to me because it can indicate to me what I'm externalizing about the things that I like about games, right? Externalizing my game experience, whether I'm communicating that meaningfully. I think it's really cool. Lim Falinas, no, the cursor does not retain memory of where the last time, like where it was last time you opened it, or if you switch between, it makes choosing spells and casting them really annoying. Also, Sarnis, thank you. Thanks for the bits. Coolher, I think, so Coolher asked, in case you can't see chat if you're watching this on YouTube, Coolher asked, am I the only one who likes getting stuck in games? Not like stuck, but like jammed up on a difficult segment for a while, like being forced to figure it out? No, I think a lot of people like that. I don't think Dark Souls would be successful if people didn't like that. I like being challenged. Okay, what was I playing where it took me like an hour to beat the boss? And I was like, oh, it was Nioh. It was Nioh. It was that first boss on Nioh. And I hated every time I died. I was frustrated by it. I think if the design is good, and I know that it's just me learning, then I'm okay. But if the design is bad, that's when I feel frustrated. Like, I like being frustrated with myself. I like being challenged. I hate feeling like a game is poorly designed and I'm suffering as a result. Also, yeah, you're right. There's some much better armor here. Holy fuck, that's expensive. Okay, I guess I'll buy 2 vest guards, and now I'm broke again. Let's equip that shit. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very much. Wow, that's a big jump. Okay, cool. So it's worth the cash. Yeah, I feel like that's fun. I think that's good design, right? You can design a challenging experience and then expect the player to rise to meet that experience. But that's difficult. I think that's pretty tough. So Virascali asked if you can get that experience being stuck in a tabletop game. That's much harder because often we don't get mad at the game as much in tabletop. We get mad at the GM, which makes it really difficult. Because you're getting mad at a person, and that can suck. That can break that experience. Also, I got some good resale value on that last armor. But I still don't have enough for this piece of shit. So I guess I could buy a needle hat. Let's buy a needle hat.
Anything else? Be seeing you.
And let's put it on Porky, because Porky could use a little boost too. Also, this is the fucking worst part of the whole menu. Everything else about the menu I can handle. This equip gear is the worst. It defaults to the trash. If you hit X, you put the trash on another object. You don't put those objects in the trash. It's terrible menu design. Terrible. Everything else is fine. The menus, like, they're a little weird, but they're not bad. But that is fucking horrible. All right, let's sell this hat I'm not wearing. Speaking of hats.
Anything. Be seeing you.
Scumbag DM, that sounds familiar. Yes, I agree, and I think Yummy Dog points out in chat, this is a really good observation. Rising to meet a challenge in a game is very, very difficult compared to grinding to be appropriately leveled. Grinding to be appropriately leveled is just about patience. It's not at all the same thing as developing skill, which I think we can get conflated quite easily and shouldn't. Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, I gotta preface, and I try to express this as often as I can, because I have nothing but empathy for the people that try to do these things. Making games isn't that hard, right? Anybody can slap together a game. I will make a game right now. Give me $1 and you earn 100 points. If you get to 1,000 points, you gain 11. That's a game. That's the game. All right? That's a shitty game. It's not good. That's not a good game. Also, I just missed with that spell. It's not a good game, but that's a game. I just designed one. Designing good games is really fucking difficult. Like, really hard. In the same way that, like, making art or crafting anything meaningful is very difficult. So, I feel like criticism, I'm not sitting here, and I think if they really thought about it, nobody who criticizes games, nobody who does game reviews, nobody who even just thinks critically about games, sits around going, all game design is easy. Right? We're in a position where we need to be cognizant of, oops, oh, what a waste. We need to be cognizant of that as a truth about design. Skilled design, like anything, is difficult. Also, I am getting still getting whomped on by these dudes. Right, yeah, Shellbell makes a good point. There's no such thing as a universally good game. What's good to me is going to be different from... Did they just kill the guy I just brought back to life? Ooh, you fucking grip in hand, jerk-ass, feather-looking, leg-having bird piece of shit. Oh boy.
Try to stop me.
Doesn't a game have to have some sort of lose condition? No. No, it totally doesn't. I mean, I think the conversation about what is or isn't a game is sort of a fruitless one. Okay, this is silliness. These griffins aren't even like leg having; they're leg being. I think I just need to get some more money. I'm not sure how much money I get from these nerds, but I don't think it's too bad. And honestly, like, high risk, but the reward is pretty good. And these things aren't actually that hard to kill. They take like 1.5 hits. So in a way, they're actually a lot easier to grind on than they're a lot easier to grind up on than some of the other enemies we fought.
Thanks.
So weirdly, in its own way, the Pure Land is like a decent place to get XP.
Thanks.
Yeah, about 2k gold a piece. Okay, so it's like it's not great, but. So, Yummy Dog was asking about, as a question about tabletop, specifically tabletop design, but I think this applies to role-playing games, computer role-playing games, board games, whatever. How do you learn about the mechanisms of a dice system affecting the game, right? Like, why would you use a d20 over a bunch of d6s or, like, whatever, right? So, all randomizer does is give you an understanding of how likely any given thing is to occur. If you want a game where the players know pretty certainly what is going to occur or what isn't going to occur, use a dice system with a lower curve, right? Use higher modifier, more dice. If you want wild chaos, use a big die with less modifiers. Because that's going to give you a game that feels more chaotic, more swingy, more unpredictable. Like in D&D, we have this all the time, right? Zeke has a character with a +10 to stealth. He rolls a 1, that's just an 11. Like, guess what? That's average for a first level character. Like you just blew it. And the Chaos Plateau, which is what I and a lot of people refer to as the way a D20 works, it does that. That's, yeah, sit astride the Chaos Plateau. Welcome to it. You never quite know what's gonna happen. Whereas in Apocalypse World or Dungeon World, you can say pretty certainly, for the most part, you know how you're gonna do.
Thanks.
So how that applies to a game like this is I don't know. I don't know how likely I am to succeed because the game pretends to be an action game, right? I swing at the tree, my sword goes through the tree, I dealt the tree some damage, except no, I might just miss arbitrarily, or what seems like arbitrarily to me, because the numerical system in the game is obfuscated from sight. I don't get to know why I missed. And the game's prompt doesn't, I don't get to know, and so that's what makes it frustrating, right? If I knew, well, I mean, XCOM is a funny, sort of a funny break on this because it can seem like even with 95% chance you never hit. But it's important, right? It's important to know how much information you're giving the players so that they can choose what actions to take and know how predictable those actions might be. So in D&D, you just gotta know. You gotta know that even though you think you're pretty much guaranteed to hit, you might just miss. And that becomes part of why you play. You choose to embrace that. That's why dice systems actually really matter in creating fiction. Because the likelihood of your success is a huge part of the fiction of the game. Because ultimately, like, when I say in a game, I hit him with my sword, I'm really asking a question. I'm saying, do I hit him with my sword? And the game is letting me know if that's a yes or a no on the old sword plus face equation. So if I know I've got a pretty good chance to hit with my sword, I'm making that statement more aggressively. So it's a narrative control convention, which I know sounds like what happens when you get a bunch of kinky authors together.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a thing, and it really like does affect how a game works. Yeah, there are tools online like Any Dice that model those kinds of things. But if you're designing a game, what I feel like, and this is the thing that Secret of Mana is fucking up on, as far as I'm concerned, your feedback system in the game needs to reflect the actual likelihood that an action is taking place, right? So instead of saying miss, for example, if the number popping up on the screen said 0, that would be very, very different, right? Because I'm swinging, and their evasion is such that even though the sword is clearly passing through the sprite of the enemy, it's saying miss, but I'm not missing. I'm hitting you. Never lie to me about that. Don't say I have a 95% chance, but really make it 10, because what's the point of using numbers, right? Use colors. Be like, you have an orange % chance. That's bad design. Don't obfuscate, but pretend you're not obfuscating. If you're gonna lie, if you're gonna keep it from the player, that's cool. Uncertainty is an aspect of design, but if you're gonna keep it secret, if you're keeping it secret, then keep it secret. Don't pretend like you're not, because that's some game designer horse shit. Yeah, like why not say evade or something? Because miss is not true. I'm taking the fucking swing. You can see me hitting them.
The end.
Also, there's too many of these guys. And this is why shit like translation is important, because I wonder if what it says in Japanese. I wonder what the Japanese word there is.
Shane, for help. Dark force.
Do it. Kill him. Oh, bye, dukes. Wow, there's a lot of enemies out here. But I've committed to killing them all, so fuck it, right? Oh, god damn it. Fuck you, game, with your doom trap. Yeah, the tools this game has for feedback are very, very limited.
Takes more than that.
Let's do this.
No, see, Quasi, that's not a good faith argument, because saying, so Quasi said, did the baseball evade the bat when the player missed hitting the ball? No, but we also didn't see the ball hit the bat and then fall on the ground, or like fly through the bat, which is what's happening here. The game is giving us the same exact visual feedback as a hit, but then nothing is happening. So that's the issue, right?
Thanks.
There's nothing wrong with missing. Like the mechanics behind what's happening, which is that the monster has an evasion stat or an armor stat or something that's preventing me mechanically from hitting, even though physically I'm triggering the hit check. What's really interesting about this is that taking a swing at your enemy in this game is like in a tabletop RPG saying, I would like to roll to hit. It is signaling to the game, I would like to make an attempt. Whereas, because it's an action RPG, I'm expecting something more like Zelda, where if my sword passes through an enemy, I am hitting them. There's no to-hit roll. The to-hit roll is a skill shot. It's did my finger hit the button at the right time to cause the trigger of the animation. But the game is lying to me. The game is not doing that. And I again, it's not a huge criticism. Like, you get used to it, but it's very weird. It's certainly not what I would say, barring like Morrowind or I guess Borderlands does some of that. Barring that stuff, you never see it. It's just not. It would be like if we were playing Mega Man and you press the B button and 1 out of every 3 Buster shots just goes right through the enemy. It's not what we expect. Yeah, the to-hit roll shouldn't be obfuscated from the player in this case. It should be sword hits tree, damage is dealt. Now, if they have high armor, that's fine. Pop a 0. Be like, nope, you didn't roll enough damage to hurt them. But that's not what's happening. It's a strange. It's a very strange experience. Because the game is, I think, in a lot of ways, pretending to be one type of game, but is in actuality another, or is hybridized in a way that we don't see anywhere else. Okay, how are we doing? Did we get that thing? Wake up, Charlene. You dummy. Nope. Dukes just eats shit and dies. Okay. I think that's my last revive item, too. The reason my sword is only level 3 is because you don't get a lot of sword orbs early on. And the sword also has no utility outside being a sword, so I used axe and whip most often. Even though now the sword is the highest leveled weapon that I have. Or the highest, like, orbed weapon I have.
You must defeat the dragon in the forest. To the left to proceed.
Yeah, I guess I'll save the game here. So maybe I should, I gotta go get items, because I don't have any revive items, and then I'll just run through this area. Yeah, an animation, like, the players have these animations, right? Like, if something comes at me, and I dodge, my character does a little backflip, and like, you don't hit me. So now it just says miss, which is not nearly as good. Even if they had just said dodged instead, I would understand it. Like, I get it now, but this is why feedback is so important. Not like Q&A feedback, but feedback from the game's mechanics to the player.
In the desert? My shoes had more sand than feet in them.
Remind me never to visit a desert again. All the moisture in my hair and skin is gone.
That's what you're worried about?
Skincare aside, it's impossible to sleep with so much riding on our shoulders.
You were snoring last night.
What was that?
Nothing.
All this desert talk is making my throat bone dry.
Ugh, I hate the gritty feeling of sand in my mouth.
What? I need water.
What do you need of me?
I'm thirsty.
You're using magic for that?
Understood. Here you are.
I guess Undine's okay with it.
Okay, cool. Good cutscene.